I don't normally speak to you rugged up to the neck like this, but if you knew just how cold and windy it was, you wouldn't blame me. The reason why I'm standing here is to tell you the story of Finlay Munro, that great man of God, and how he crossed from Harris to North Uist. I don't know exactly where it was that he left from. The modern ferry port is only dating back to the 1900s, and he, of course, was 100 years before that. It may have been from this little port at Strand. I don't know, but it was somewhere on this coastline. Finlay Munro had been conducting a series of meetings here on Harris. It was not for nothing that he was known as the Highlands Evangelist. And many people had responded to the message of Jesus Christ that he preached. And the result was that although he had a preaching appointment on North Uist, he was detained here in Harris by people who wanted to speak to him about their soul's salvation, people who'd been impressed by the message that he preached. And so he would deal with one, and another one would come pressing in. And meanwhile, the ferrymen were down at the port waiting for him. Unlike the modern Caledonian McBrain ferry, from which I have just landed, this was an old rowing ferry, 6 men manning the oars and pulling the boat the 6 miles across the water from Harris to North Uist. They waited. These were the days, of course, before everyone had watches. Time didn't matter, but even so, there was tides to be considered. There was the length of time it would take to make the crossing to be considered, and the ferrymen had one eye on the sun, and eventually they sent word to Finlay Munro, "We're waiting for you." And Finlay Munro sent back a message, I'm coming just now, I'm coming, just... And more minutes went by. Again the ferryman sent to call Finlay Munro, "We're just waiting for you." And again he sent back the message, I'm coming just now, just a moment. Finally the ferryman could wait no longer. The man cast off the painter, the men bent to their oars, and the ferryboat began to move out into the Sound. And just at that moment Finlay Munro came running down the street, "Wait for me, I'm coming, wait for me." And the ferryman called back, "We've waited long enough. We can't come back." And Finlay Munro, who seems to have been something of a prophet, said, "I'll wait for you," and went and sat down on a rock at the harbour wall. 10 minutes later, a thick sea mist began to roll in from the Atlantic, blotting everything from sight, the nearby islands through which the ferry was threading its way, the distant hills of Uist. And about a quarter of an hour after that, the watchers on the shore heard the sound of splashing oars, and the ferryboat emerged from the mist and came back to the very point from which it had started. Somehow, in the thick mist, confused by the islands, and you should see the crooked course our ferry had to follow to come here, because you do have to thread your way between the islands, the ferryboat, in the mist, had gone in a complete circle and come back to the point from which it started. And Finlay Munro climbed on board. The ferryboat set off again, and within minutes the sea mist began to dissipate, blow away and clear, and Finlay Munro made it to North Uist in time for his preaching appointment, where he was able to carry on the work to which God had called him. As I said, Finlay Munro was something of a prophet, a great man of God, and it never pays to mock God's messengers. You only end up coming back to where you started from.